Okay, now we are live. Yes.
Okay.
Welcome everybody. Good evening. So here we have today Sanjay Chandra, who is going to deliver a session on storytelling with data. So it's basically, as almost a great expert on Power BI and also analytics field, and we all connected through COE, which is founded by Sanjay. So yeah, over to you, Sanjay.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Prem. So, hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, Sanjay.
Yes, Sanjay.
Okay. Yeah. So my net connection is not very good. So first thing I have to ask is, am I audible or not? Okay. So today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is storytelling with data. So when we hear the topic storytelling with data, so people have a lot of expectations regarding this topic, especially on the communication side. And of course, that is true. But let us simplify the topic and let's talk in a very let's talk in a layman language. So let's keep the session interactive as well. So when I first heard this term storytelling, so I always had this mixed feeling because when you say story, generally we talk about fiction, so something which is like imagination. So when you say storytelling, is it like making up something on the go, or is it like talking about the truth, right? So that is always which had come to my mind initially. So storytelling, I first heard this term maybe 2012 or 2013, something like that. I heard about this term. It was very new on the internet as well at that point of time when I was browsing through various talks, and it sounded very interesting. So later I came to know that story doesn't necessarily mean that it's fiction or made up. It could be reality as well. It's just that the way you narrate it makes the difference. Now, one of the talks which changed my perception about storytelling was, there is one, so there are TED talks. I think all of you know TED talks. Along with TED talks, there are also something called Google Talks. Did any one of you watch Google Talks before, or did
No,
you
no.
hear Google Talks?
No,
Did you hear the term?
no, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So there are Google Talks as well. Now, Google Talks, they invite a lot of guest speakers, and they actually speak about a particular topic for 1 hour. So generally TED Talks are like 15-20 minutes, but Google Talks are like for 1 hour. So they'll call different kinds of people, like authors of different books. There are people who are like very good experts in their particular field. So people related to sports, people who are like book writers, people who are like very famous on the internet, you can say. So they call different kinds of people, and it's like a community event which happens at Google offices in US. So they, once they deliver the lecture, so there'll be Q&A, and then they'll upload that on YouTube. So earlier it used to be like, of course there's always TED talks which are very popular, but Google talks are very less popular, but they're very interesting. So recently I shared one Google talk which is on storytelling. I'm not sure if you have gone through it. So that is by one person called Carmen Gallo. So he's a very good guy when it comes to storytelling. He is someone who followed Steve Jobs and Apple for a very long time, and he gives a third party perspective. So it is something which he has shared as an independent observer. And I absolutely love his books as well as his talks. I mean, whenever I watch his talks, it's like learning a lot of things, and also very insightful, I would say. So today, when we talk about storytelling, one of the first things which I always want to talk about is, what does storytelling mean in a very simple language is, storytelling is all about building meaningful narratives. Okay. So if I give you an example for this, let's say if I ask you a question, so how did you spend last Diwali? If I ask a question like that, will you answer something like, okay, I woke up at 8 a.m., my alarm rang, then at 8:30 I got ready. Will you say something like that, or will you say, or will you tell it like a story? So how do you describe your experience if someone asks you? So will you tell timestamps and then you will tell what happened like a artificial algorithm, or will you narrate it in the form of a story in a natural way. So obviously story, right? And in a very similar way, when we think about our life as well. So this is one of my favorite examples as well. So whenever we face any difficulties or whenever we are very happy, when we are going through our journey, we still think about everything as a story. So let's say you got cheated in a transaction. Let's say you are paying for Uber or Ola and you got cheated. So that's like betrayal. Let's say you are spending time with friends and people are cracking jokes and you are laughing. So any experience which you have, you always remember it as a story. You will not remember the technical details. So even for example, let's say you are facing some financial difficulties. You will not remember how much bank balance you had and all of that. You will remember what all things you have done to survive. So everything, it comes down to narrating stories and thinking in terms of stories. And one, so I was telling you, right? I absolutely love one example. So I was reading one book called Barking Up a Wrong Tree. So it's a book by Eric Barker. It has been one of my most favorite book. So in that book, what the author says is, so whenever there are setbacks in our life, we have to tell good stories to ourselves. Like for example, sometimes when you fail and when you go to anybody, like let's say your grandmother or let's say your uncle, they'll always say, so God has bigger plans for you. Just give me a moment. So whenever we fail or when we face a setback, so our relatives or maybe our close friends will say, okay, God has bigger plans for us. Now, if you try to take statistics, maybe situation can get even worse. We don't know. But it's always that assurance which helps us to move forward. So maybe situation can go even bad. But because of the story which we hear from people, okay, so then we make up our mind, okay, maybe this is just a temporary setback. So tomorrow something can be better. So that hope will give us motivation to move forward, no matter how big or small we are. So that is the power of storytelling. So in reality, it could be irrational. So someone, like if you bring a statistician or maybe if you bring someone who is into analytics and all, maybe they may say, okay, it doesn't make any sense from rationality perspective. But when you talk from the perspective of morality or in terms of your motivation and other things, it really helps us at that point of time. Temporarily, it helps us to move forward. So when you talk about storytelling, it's not just about talking just from data perspective. It's also about creating a story which will create meaning in our life as well. So there are two types of storytelling. One is with data, one is with to create some kind of meaning to move forward. Now, one of the most important, or I would say the most popularly used technique in social media by a lot of influencers is there is one storytelling technique called hero and villain. So whenever you watch any movie, take any movie like superhero or movie about any particular like it could be a love story or it could be like a thriller. You take any movie, there'll always be one hero and one villain, no matter what the theme is. So there's always the good side and the bad side. I mean, you take anything. So when you talk about good versus bad, we generally look at this in Hollywood or Bollywood or Tollywood. Like we only look at it in film industry. But in business context, we'll convert that into a different format, which is still the same. So first we define our problem. The problem is the villain. And then we introduce the hero. Hero is the solution. So for example, let's say people are overworking. Let's say you're managing a team and let's say people are working 10 hours every day. Now that's the villain. That's the part where it is focused on negative aspects. So everyone is working 10 hours every day. Now you will introduce a hero to the theme. Who is the hero? Automation. You will say, okay, if we introduce this, I mean, if we purchase this software and if we try to build some automations, people don't need to work 10 hours. People only need to work 8 hours. Then people will not leave the company. Then the attrition rate will reduce and people also will be more happy and more satisfied with their work, which will lead to better productivity. So here what you are doing, you are taking the villain. So who is the villain here? the work. And who is the hero? The automation. So the automation will come and it will try to solve the problem. So hero versus villain concept. Now the same thing if you try to apply to LinkedIn. So all of you are very active on LinkedIn. Now some posts become very, very viral, right? I mean, as soon as you read it, you immediately want to hit like to it. One of the reasons why that happens because that story has a villain and a hero. Now I'll give you a very good example of this. Whenever you see any HR post, like one of the very popular posts on LinkedIn is give chance to a fresher. So have you come across a post like that? Number of times? Give a chance to fresher. Freshers will do very well, like that. Now when you talk about that post, for example, who is the villain here? You are telling the companies and HRs are the villain, freshers are heroes. So that's the theme. If you just think little deeply about it. So you are creating a narrative that HRs are not giving opportunity to freshers, so they are the villains, and freshers are the heroes who are like the innocent kids. So you create a narrative successfully. So you are saying that please give chance to a freshers. They are not getting opportunities because of which they are wasting their time. The potential is getting wasted. So blah blah blah. All these things they tell. But if you look at the theme, it's the same theme. It's the hero versus villain theme. Similarly, when you talk about a lot of these influencers who talk about cracking Google job or Microsoft job, there'll always be a villain. What will they say? Okay, working in Infosys, Wipro, they make it look like a villain. Like they make it look as if working in Infosys or TCS or Wipro is a crime. They will try to make these companies as villain, Indian companies as villain. And then they'll say, okay, if you work in Microsoft or Google, your life is set. And similarly, if you go to coaching centers, again, they will make a villain. So whenever there is an IIT college and whenever there is non-IIT college, they'll tell, oh, if you go to a non-IIT college, you will not get a good job. If you go to IIT college, you'll get a good job. So they'll try to make IIT as the hero if you go to IIT coaching center. Now, if you go to a CAT coaching center, they will make IIM as the hero and normal colleges as the villain. You go to any kind of advertisement or you go to any kind of sales pitch, this theme will exist, no matter what that is. Whether it is related to education or job or anything, it doesn't matter. And even when you talk about a lot of great presentations, I mean, if you watched Apple presentations also, when Steve Jobs was introducing smartphone, how does he start? He starts with how the existing smartphones are. What are the problems with the existing smartphones? And then he introduces iPhone. And even when you look at many products, great presentations given by different companies, they always first bring the problem to the table and then they talk about the limitations, which is the villain, and then they'll introduce the hero, which is their product, which is their solution. So it's a very, very simple template, but it can be used in multiple ways of life. And another good example which I want to give you is on LinkedIn, you will find many influencers or many people talking about their struggles, right? For example, like you may come across a post where people talk about how their first salary was very less and then how did they jump from one small company to bigger company. You may hear like very good story, a motivational story. So when you hear about the motivational story, who is the villain and who is the hero? Again, if you try to think about this in that particular template which I just described, again it follows the same template. So who is the villain? So the villain will be either your financial situation. Okay, people always talk about, okay, I come from a very like very poor background, like very bad economically, very poor financially. So people talk about their background, that is the villain. So that is stopping them from their success. And slowly they talk about how they earn their money, how they saved the money, and how they prepared for the interviews and all, and how did they crack a dream job. So that's always very motivating. Why? Because the villain is the financial situation. Because of the bad financial situation, they had to face a lot of troubles. So this is the part where in movies we call it as conflict. You create a conflict. So for example, when you talk about love story, so what generally happens in a lot of Hindi movies and Telugu movies? So hero and heroine will fall in love, then the hero and father will come in the middle. So that's a very common theme, if you remember. So that element is called conflict in movie world. Now the same thing you can apply when you talk about social media as well. So in social media, what do people say? Okay, I had a dream, I wanted to go here, I wanted to do this, and then the conflict comes. What is the conflict? The financial situation, or maybe for example, recently I read one post where a lady posted on LinkedIn, and she was telling how women are discriminated, like how the society, how their family didn't encourage the women in their education and all. So here the conflict is their family not supporting women. And I think a lot of movies also have come in the same theme, where the opportunities, or there is a discrimination against certain people. It could be based on gender, it could be based on certain region, whatever you can. Now the same thing follows everywhere. So here there are three things. First there is a hero, first there is a villain, then there is a conflict, and then there is a hero. So how hero solves that conflict and how he defeats the villain is the essence of storytelling, if you ask me. If I have to summarize everything in a very, very simple way. Now, when you talk about storytelling, this is what it is. So there are always these three parts: hero, conflict, and villain. Now, the second part comes into picture. The second part is storytelling with data. So when you bring data into picture, so how do you do storytelling, and how do you do it in a very serious business context? That's where, that's where the challenge is. When you talk about data, one of the things which people really believe is, okay, if we want to convince somebody, we need to have a lot of data points. So this is what many people believe. So one thing which I always keep telling about, which I always saw in my life is, so again, I'm giving a real time example, okay? So I know some people in my life whom I have seen, who are like very discriminatory, I would say. So for example, they're very, very particular about their community or their caste or their religion. I have seen some people like that. Now let's say if they want to set up a business and they want to get a license or something, caste or community never comes into picture because it's related to money. When money comes into picture, everything disappears. As long as it's not related to money, people are very particular about a lot of things, about their community, caste, all these other things. So that's natural. Now when you talk about a business perspective, it doesn't matter which business you are in. The best way to convince someone is, you always talk about ROI, return on investment. If you invest 100 rupees, how much will you get? If you invest 100, will you get 110 rupees or 150 rupees? Or what do you get finally? That is the ultimate point. For example, why layoffs are happening? Why? Because the shareholders want more profits, more dividends. The share price has to increase. Because only when the share price increases, the executives will get their bonuses and all. And second thing, what happened was there was overhiring. Because of that, companies are unable to justify the salaries. It's not like people are doing bad jobs. It's just, the problem is, whatever money companies are paying for some of the teams which are working, it is not generating the returns to justify in their meetings. And that's why a lot of layoffs happen. It has nothing to do with a particular individual's performance. It has everything to do with return on investment. So people are not able to, managers are not able to justify the return on investment. Okay, they have a team of 10 members and paying so much of salary, but what is the output they are not able to justify? And that's why the teams, they are not laying off individual persons. They are laying off teams itself. Like number of teams they have laid off, including very big companies like Mang and Fang. So when you talk from business context, everything comes down to ROI, return on investment. So here, when you talk about ROI, you should always pick a villain who is reducing the ROI. Like for example, when I gave the first example, so who is the villain here? The villain is doing things manually. Who is the hero? The automation is the hero. Similarly, when you talk about other things in business, so let's say if you take a problem like, okay, employees are not very happy. I'm just giving a very regular, very simple examples. Let's say employees are not happy. So that's the villain problem statement. Why they are not happy? There could be a number of factors. Now you have to bring a solution. So again, when you bring a solution, you cannot bring a fancy solution. You have to bring a solution which is beneficial to the company as well as beneficial to the employees. You cannot bring a solution saying that, okay, let's take everyone to a US trip and come back. The chief financial officer will get a heart attack. So he will ask, like, what is the return on investment if we spend that much of money? So obviously you need to come up with a proposal where CFO is happy at the end of the day, because that guy will always be the one who will stop everything, who will say, I will not give budget for this. Okay. So before I proceed further, do you have any questions until here?
No. No.
Okay, okay, fine. Yeah. Now let us talk about the data visualization part, because a lot of you are learning Power BI, and when you talk about data visualization tools, so how does data visualization come into picture when you're talking about storytelling? Now, one thing which everyone has to understand when it comes to real life is nobody takes a Power BI dashboard and flashes it in a meeting, in an executive meeting. It never happens, no matter which company it is. Even Microsoft, if they have a meeting, like a board meeting or maybe a high level manager level executive meeting, even they will not flash any Power BI in their meetings. Everybody will flash a PowerPoint presentation. Ultimately, whether you write a Python code, whether you write a DAX code, whether you write a automation Python script, it doesn't matter what you build, or whether you develop an iOS app or an Android app, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, people are going to present what you have done in a PowerPoint presentation, irrespective of the company, irrespective of the designation, irrespective of which country it is. So ultimately, everything goes into PowerPoint. Now, if you really want to become a good storyteller, you should be very, very good with using PowerPoint. Now, if you are not good with PowerPoint, because PowerPoint is like a tool, it's like an aid for you, just to use it during your presentations to back up your facts. So let's say if you want to show a pie chart, or let's say if you want to show the growth of something, so obviously it is always good to have some kind of slide behind your back talking about that particular growth in terms of numbers, because here we are talking about storytelling with data. So if it's a normal storytelling, you may not need a PowerPoint. But if you are talking about storytelling with data, you need a PowerPoint. Now, one of the mistakes what people do is they try to put very, very complex charts. Trust me, it is not going to help anybody. If you really want to be a good storyteller, you have to use a very simple chart with which people can understand. Now I'll give you a very, very good example of this. Okay. Now let me show you in real time. So how a difference between a good chart and a bad chart, I'll show you. So let me share my screen. I'll build it from scratch. Initially, I thought that I will just flash the ready-made ones. But again, I felt that if I build it from scratch in front of you, it will be more beneficial is what I felt. Sorry, I lost my connection. Let me share my screen. Now I am going to show you very, very good things on Excel itself. I'll not even use Power BI for that matter. Okay, just let me know if you are able to see my screen. Yeah.
Not yet, Sanjay. Not yet.
Okay. You cannot see my screen?
It's still in presenting. Yeah, now it's showing.
Yes, now it's visible.
Okay, fine. So I'm taking PowerPoint because ultimately, even if I build an Excel, I have to question PowerPoint. So I'm taking directly PowerPoint. So let's say you want to talk about something very, I mean, you want to pinpoint about something. Okay. So what I will do is I will try to go to insert. So I just opened PowerPoint. It's a regular PowerPoint. So you can use any version of PowerPoint. It doesn't matter. So I'm taking this one. So I'm taking a line chart and I want only one series. I don't want multiple series here. Okay, I have only one series. Now I want to highlight something here. So I will say, so I'm building from scratch here. Okay, let me temporarily put this beside. So I'm manually changing some values. Okay, now let's say you have something like this. So there are some days with some data which is there. So okay, let's say we are talking about sales. Oops, sorry. Yeah, let's say we are talking about sales. Now this is a line chart which we have. Now this is a regular line chart without any modifications. So this is a, let me plug in my charger. Okay, now how do you talk about storytelling from this chart? It's very simple. We'll just make few modifications which will actually tell story from this chart. So now what I'm going to do is I'll remove all the distraction. So I have removed the legend and I'll only talk about this part. And now I'll try to remove the accesses also. I have removed the access as well. And here I will just right click and I'll format data series and I'll add some markers. So right now markers are not there. So I'll try to add some markers. Probably I'll add round markers and probably I'll put gray markers. And then the line as well, I will try to thin the line. Right now it is 2.25. I'll try to put 1.5 and I'll change the color. So this is what I have. Now here, I want to explain why there is a spike. Okay. Now one way to represent this is you can use a line chart. But let's say if your data points are very small, you can change that chart type to a column chart. This is also fine. A column chart also works well, completely fine. So in the column chart, what I will do is I will change all of them to light gray. So all of them are light gray. Now here, I'll only select this single chart. I mean this single one, and I'll change it to green color. And I'll also increase the width of them. Okay. Now this is what I have. Now here, I can always do annotation. So here I can say, I can give a annotation here. I'll say because of Christmas, the sales have increased. So that's the story I want to tell.
What just happened? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. I guess he's having issue with the laptop. I guess his laptop got shut down. I think he will
Mm,
join because it was showing cross on battery sign.
exactly. Sanjay, you are on mute if you are saying something.
Sanjay, you're not audible.
You are
If you're
mute.
speaking.
Oh, okay, okay. Fine, fine. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, Sanjay, you are audible. Please click on this hide button below and
Okay.
we can
Yeah.
continue. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I want to highlight the fact that because of Christmas, there is a boost in sales. I know it's obvious, but still, I want to give a simple example. That's why. So I want to highlight the fact that because of Christmas, there is a spike in sales. So to highlight that fact, I am doing annotation. So here, because of Christmas, there is a spike in sales. Now, another thing which I want to highlight is in this chart, I want to mention the fact that because Christmas is coming, people are not making any purchases on the previous day. So let's say people are not making any purchases because there is Christmas. Now, this also I want to highlight here. So two things I want to highlight. One thing is because of Christmas, there are a lot of sales. And another thing which I wanted to highlight is people are not spending anything before because it's before Christmas. I mean, traditionally what will happen is, okay, let me edit the chart because people purchase just one day before the Christmas. So let me make that change to make it more meaningful. Okay. So this should be the real picture. So people make a lot of purchases on Christmas Eve. I mean, that's when they'll get the deliveries and all these things. That's when you'll recognize the revenue. So here I want to highlight the fact that people are not making any purchases before 2 days of Christmas. So this is like pre-Christmas, you can say. Now this is where the sales are plummeting. So as a corporate or as a company, people want to give discounts before Christmas. I mean, these 2 days they want to give some offers so that there is no dip here. Anyway, people are going to purchase when there is a festive season. So the focus of marketing should be, I mean, sales and marketing guys should be, they should somehow make a sale when there is a dip. The dip comes before the festive season. Even the same thing you can observe before Diwali as well. One day before Diwali, you will find a lot of people purchasing things. But before Diwali, I mean, before Diwali in the sense, before the discounts kick in, before the discounts come into picture, people will not make any purchases. Why? Because they are waiting for a discount to come. So this is one way to do storytelling where you are using annotations. And second thing is you are also using color. If you look at this bar chart, so every bar is actually having different color, but the one which you want to highlight is having a different color. So here I have used two things. One is as soon as someone looks at this chart, people know where to focus on. I don't need to explain. Now, for example, just imagine that I didn't do any customization. Let's say there is no annotation. It's a regular chart. But here, some story is being told. Of course, you can build better annotation and also you can build it in a better way. But in a very simple, in 5 minutes, I just showed you how you can make your charts look better. Now, whether you are using Tableau or Power BI or anything, ultimately you should know how to do this in PowerPoint because that is where people are going to talk about their ideas, business ideas. Ultimately, doesn't matter which company, and that's the reason why learning about data visualization is very important. It comes into picture. Now, when I say data visualization, it doesn't mean Power BI. Now, Power BI is just one of the tools. Data visualization means what? You can use Excel, you can use PowerPoint, you can use the Seaborn and Matplotlib in Python. You can use R. I don't know which. I think it is ggplot in R language, or you can use Tableau, or you can use Power BI. It doesn't matter which tool it is, but you should know how to visualize the data, and also you should know how to make the charts talk about the story by themselves without you going and explaining something. So when the charts are simple and when they are visually appealing, they tell a story. For example, here I didn't use ribbon chart, sunburst chart. There are many good charts actually. There is also a spider chart, which we also call it as radar chart. I'll just show you how many types of charts are there in Excel. So this is radar chart. Okay, it looks like spider webs. Then you have sunburst chart. Sunburst chart will have multiple layers of donut chart. So if you have multiple layers in donut chart, that's a sunburst chart. You have box and whisker, waterfall, many are there. But I decided to use only a simple column chart. Why? Because it's easy to understand and it's easy to tell a story. So that is what you have to focus on. And one very good example which I want to give you, especially in finance domain, is so Apple financials. This became very viral on LinkedIn. You might have observed many posts actually. I mean, people have done it for Amazon, Apple, everywhere they have done it. This one, this became very viral on Reddit as well as on Instagram and even on LinkedIn as well. Now, if you see, they have visualized the income statement of Apple company. It's very easy to understand. Okay, how much money is coming from iPhone, MacBook, iPad, and everything in that particular year, and then how much money is being spent. So this is the cost, and how much profit ultimately the company is generating. It's very, very easy to understand. Now, if I give you a very big income statement, and if I try to give you 3-4 tables, you will never be able to understand what it is. Now, the same thing people have built for Amazon as well, if I'm not wrong. And they have also built it for Microsoft as well. Yeah, so this is Amazon. And they have also built this for Microsoft. This one. So you see, it's very, very easy to understand. You see how easy it is to understand. Okay, how much Windows is making as a platform, how much Azure is making, and ultimately, if 51 billion revenue is getting earned, what is the net profit? It's very, very easy to understand, and also very, very easy to tell a story with this, to say, okay, how much money is going where, and you should know how to use tools like this. So you should know what kind of chart this is. So only when you can do things like this, it becomes very, very easy for you to convey your point. Of course, communication skills are important, but if you do not know how to use the tools, how are you going to build things like this? So that's the question. So there is a chart called ribbon chart, which is in Power BI. This is not actually a ribbon chart. So this is called a Sankey chart. Snaky chart. So if you just type snaky chart, so this is snaky chart. See, so snaky chart with multiple levels. Oh, sorry, it's Sankey only. Yeah, it's a Sankey chart. Now there is one very, very good source which I want to show. Reddit data is beautiful. Now this is very, very good place where people build amazing data visualizations with different tools. So a lot of people actually use JavaScript. They don't use Excel. They don't use any other tool. Am I audible?
Yes, Sanjay.
Okay.
Yes.
So data, now in Reddit website, there is a subreddit called Data is Beautiful, and many people use React.js or AngularJS. They use JavaScript to build amazing visualizations, because most of the people whom you see on this particular community are front-end developers who work on web development. So most of the charts which you see, they are not built on Power BI, they are not built on Python. Most of them use JavaScript to build. Now I'll show you some of the most amazing charts here. So I'll go to top charts all time. Now, if you see, they are talking about names. So some kind of correlation they are talking about. So a name called Terry and a name called Karen. And similarly, if you look at this one, I think this is very popular. You might have seen in multiple social media websites, right? So this is talking about different diseases which have killed people, which have affected people. So they are talking about Spanish flu, COVID-19, swine flu, SARS, Ebola, all these things. And they are doing it day-wise. So if you see, Spanish flu has killed more people or affected more people compared to any other pandemic which came, which is very good to visualize. And here, if you see, inflation versus college fees. So how much inflation has increased and how much college fees has increased over a period of times in US, of course, from 1980 till 2020. So it clearly shows that college fees is increasing faster than inflation. Very simple chart. So there are multiple charts. Here it talks about speed of light. So how much the speed of light is in real time. So let me show you. Now, if you see this, someone has built a chart with Snickers. So distribution of Snicker letters in their Halloween candy. So basically, this is a histogram. They are talking about the frequency distribution. So, I mean, it's all about your creativity, how you want to show things. This is one place where I always come back for inspiration and also for understanding how we can visualize in different ways. This also you see. Now this one talks about global temperature trend. How much temperature got deviated. So it is talking from 0 AD till 2019 AD. So here we are talking about global warming, climate change. We are talking about all these other things. And this is one place where I get a lot of inspiration. Now another source where I get a lot of inspiration when it comes to data is just type McKinsey AI report. McKinsey, KPMG, there are many consulting firms which build a lot of reports. So you can always take one of them. Wait, I will say type .pdf. Now, if I just try to open this one. Now, if you see this one, they build very nice reports and they visualize things in a very good way. Now, look at this chart. How great this is. Just to see and understand what it is amazing. So I always try to replicate. So how difficult it is to replicate, I challenge myself and I try to use the same color palette and I try to replicate. So basically this is nothing but, I mean, when you look at this chart, it looks complex. If you really want to replicate something like this, the chart which they have used is, okay, let me put some data. The chart which they actually used is, I will just show. It's a 100% stacked column chart. So this is the chart which they are using. So everything is blown up to 100%. And they have categorized different things and then they have customized this by giving the category. So by job title, by age, by office location, etc. And if I scroll down, you see this one. This is a waffle chart. So if you just type waffle chart, and if I go to images, so this is waffle chart. So you see this one. This is a waffle chart. So it looks like a waffle. So if you want to show some good things in terms of percentages, so one of the most important use case for waffle chart is election results. Let's say if you want to show how many seats are won by which party, you can show waffle chart. So I have also once shown waffle chart for Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand election results. I don't know how many of you remember that, but that is something which I shown in waffle chart. And similarly, if I scroll down.
Sanjay, sorry for pitching in between. Just wanted to ask, even I try to replicate it sometimes. How exactly do you know? Like, for example, if I try to replicate, if I download using PowerPoint, I can change the data and go and make appealing dashboards like that. But when you go through a PDF or something like this, how exactly do you replicate? Like, how do you know that how it's made?
I mean, that's the challenge. So they might use a different tool altogether. They might use Adobe InDesign. So there is one software called Adobe InDesign, and also of course you can build using PowerPoint as well. So generally when you talk about magazines or anything which is digital where they want to build very nice reports, so there is a publishing software from Adobe. So generally when you, okay, let me just write charts. So they have amazing chart templates like this. So Adobe. So they, I mean, they have like thousands of templates where you can edit. Like I'll just show you this one. So Illustrator and InDesign, if you take, they already have a lot of things where you don't even have to work on it. But these softwares are very expensive, right? So obviously we'll not use them. But what I try to do is I try to replicate as close as possible. It may not come exactly the same, but with the existing tools and knowledge which I have, like for example, I know PowerPoint, Excel, and Power BI very well. Tableau little bit I know. I mean I do know the concepts and all, but not so much as Power BI. So using the tools which I already know, I'll try to replicate them. How much close as I mean how much close I can replicate, that much close I'll try to replicate. It may not be like 100% replica. Maybe it's only 60%. But the reason for that is I don't go with editable templates, because tomorrow what if I want to build with my own data? I cannot use editable templates. It's too much of manual work. If I can try to replicate with the tools which I know, then it's easy for me to customize tomorrow because it will be dynamic. I'll just change my data somewhere and the chart will immediately change it. If I try to do this manually, then I have to go to PowerPoint, then I have to put each shape individually. Like this, I have to put each and every shape and then I have to manually do it. And I have to turn them into gray color. Manually also I can do, but it's too much of hassle, I would say. Until and unless it's a one-time thing, I don't go with 100% replication.
Got it, Sanjay. Thank you.
Yeah. Now this is one example. And also there is one more example which I want to give you is KPMG report type dot PDF. KPMG also not annual report. I think there is one report on fintech, if I'm not wrong. Now if you see this one, not exactly this one, but KPMG also has very good thing. Now if you see this one, this is like a completely different chart, which which none of us might have seen. So they have beautifully illustrated. It looks like a waffle chart. It's like a combination of waffle chart and then I would say column chart. Sorry, bar chart. So bar chart and waffle chart put together, you can say. So these reports are placed. Now here you see how they have given infographic. So these are infographics. So what I will suggest for all of you is try to go through reports like this. So McKinsey publishes very good reports. World Economic Forum publishes very good reports. Then you have KPMG, EY, Deloitte. They give, I mean, just follow their pace on LinkedIn. Whenever they publish a report like this, they put a LinkedIn post with a link to it. And World Economic Forum also has a job report, which they have published, I think, around May 2024. Now, if you see Future of Growth report, not this report, there is another report which is in May, but still I'm just opening to show how they build visualizations here. Now you see this chart. This is a honeycomb chart. I mean, honeycomb and then line chart put together, you can say, something like that. See how nicely they have done it. And here also you see this one. See how nicely they have replicated and shown the 4 categories for different countries. It's a simple chart. It may look like a very simple chart, but visually it's very, very nice. Something which you can proudly showcase to someone.
Sorry for the waiting, just for 1 minute. When you
Yeah.
try to replicate this, any authentic source of data can you suggest?
See, data can be your own thing. Like in which context you want to present, data can be your own thing. Maybe some office related data, or maybe some personal project, what you want to do. Data should be ours, but idea can be taken from somewhere.
That's where I'm coming across. Like many sites like Wikipedia, it's not considered authentic according to many people. Do you
Yeah.
have in mind any reliable source or something apart from newspaper and all?
See, there are some websites where you can get very reliable source of data, but that is only public data which you will get, like government related data. There is one website called Data.gov India. So this is a website which was opened as part of the free initiative by the government. So I think this was opened around 2015. So after India government came into power, and they have like so many data sets, and their catalog itself is in thousands. So you can get mandi data, you can get water resources related data, electricity data, housing scheme data, anything related to government, you can get it. And this is the most authentic source where directly the central government offices or state government offices gives you the data. Now this is one source. Now when you talk about paid sources of data, obviously the best source of data when it comes to financials and all will be Bloomberg or Thomson Reuters. But again, it's very expensive, like Bloomberg, I think each terminal cost is like 50 lakhs per year subscription cost. So those you will only get in big organizations. So there is nothing which can beat Bloomberg in terms of getting authentic source of data, especially financials of companies. So that you will get access in your company itself, which you cannot use it for your personal usage or for personal projects.
Correct. Thank you, Sanjay.
Yeah. So the point of showing you all these charts and all these reports is, it is just for you to get an idea, like how creatively you can actually present your data in multiple formats and multiple ways. And there is no limit with respect to this. I have been reading reports like this. I have been going through reports like this since last 5 years. Every time I open McKinsey report or KPMG report or World Economic Forum report, I always come up with I always come up something across like which is very, very interesting. And I try my best to replicate it. So I highly suggest all of you to go through reports like this and also try to learn how they are using fonts, how the layout of the report is. It makes a lot of difference. Design is something which you have to really focus on, because many people ignore design. People think, what's the point of something looking pretty? Like, why should we spend so much time adjusting the font size and all? But trust me, if you want to work in big companies like Big Four or Big Three, or if you want to work in company organizations, government organizations, big organizations like NGO, non-government organizations like United Nations or something like that, this matters a lot. And many of you may or may not believe this. If you build a presentation and if you take it to any senior management in any of the big companies, the first thing which they will notice is, how did you align things? Like, I'll just show you one example in PowerPoint itself. You can do this as an experiment. If you have any senior management in your organization, you can try this. Okay. So let's say you have some bullet points which you want to put it as a text. So I'll just generate some random text. Give me a moment. So some random text I have generated. So let's say I have bullet points one after the other. Let me remove the borders. Okay, let's say I have bullet points like this, one after the other. Like this. So 2 points are like this. Let's say the third point is like this. If you show this to any senior management, the first thing they'll point out is not your content. They'll say why this point is misaligned. So that, and there are companies where even a full stop and comma, they'll point out why this is not aligned, why this is inconsistent with compared to other things. You might have seen, I raise this every single time, because in consulting companies, Big Three and Big Four especially, everything matters. Your full stop matters, your alignment matters, your font matters. Like a lot of people, I see something like this. While copy pasting, they'll put some font, one part of the sentence in one font, another part of the sentence in another font. So if you work in any Big Three or Big Four, especially on the front end role where you are supposed to build reports, If anyone sees this sentence, first thing they'll point out is why this and this are in different font. It matters. People say it doesn't matter, but it matters a lot, right? Especially when you're building presentations and reports for public consumption. So make sure that make sure that you learn tools like PowerPoint, Excel, and Power BI very, very well, so that you can visualize any kind of data. So this skill is not about data analytics. It's about data visualization, which is very important for storytelling, right? So these are like couple of examples which I wanted to do very, very quickly. Now, so far, do you have any questions?
Can I pitch in, Sanjay?
Yeah, sure.
I work in a Big Four. I work in PwC. What you said here is absolutely correct. But in PowerPoint, they have resolved this issue. They have created their own decks, and for them, the data is like from wherever
Yes.
you copy. The standard is this only, that whatever heading you put, it will be in Times New Roman, and the inner data, whatever bullet points or anything you are putting, it should be Arial. Whatever happens, irrespective of that, the
Yeah.
headings will be always in 11, and the inner content will always be in 7 size. So these things they have resolved in PowerPoint, but I haven't noticed much in Excel. Can you little bit guide on Excel?
No, it will be PowerPoint only, because ultimately what you build in PowerPoint will go outside. In Excel, whatever you build, it's for internal working. So what you said is correct. Mostly it will be focused on PowerPoint, because the decks are the ones which will go out into the client, or it will go out into the market. Excel is all for internal working, just to justify that, okay, this is what the number is. Let's say if you put 1000 in PowerPoint, how does that 1000 come? Will be shown in Excel in the form of working.
Correct.
Yes. Excel, not much, because Excel is only for internal purpose. So you see, there are many people who are working in Big Four, and even they are also telling they have some guidelines, and they have to follow those guidelines. The font, the size of the font. So for headings, you have to use this font, and they have templates as well for some of the decks.
That's true. The standard decks are maintained, that for this purpose only these decks can be used. They have standard
Yes.
templates and all. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mohit, for sharing this for sharing about the decks. And even Nitesh also, in the comment section, you can see he's also saying, yeah, they also have separate slides.
Yes,
Okay.
because
Some people believe that the companies, they do it just out of fancy. Is that true? Maybe they spend 100 to 100 rupees, or maybe 1,000 rupees, or maybe 10,000 rupees on it to decide who will do what. Is that true?
No.
I
I
was
got to know.
utilizing your the thing, Mohit and Sanjay, because from an MBA perspective, the companies they spend like lakhs and crores on branding. They spend $1 million on branding. They give, I mean, so this is all about branding. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but they will spend a lot of time on branding.
That's
Time,
very
energy,
true,
money.
Arun. That's very true, because we want to show to the clients that how we keep it professional. And
And
in order to keep it professional, what's our USP is, unique selling proposition is how we
Mhm.
keep it confidential.
Yeah, and it has
So
to be consistent across. If you are a multinational, it has to be consistent across all offices, all territories, wherever you are located globally.
exactly. And how professionally we deal it, or how professionally we showcase it, even though we are not dealing with it professionally, how we showcase it is based on that, how we earn.
Correct.
And Mohit, I talked about the alignment, right? That
Correct.
is true or that is false? You tell.
That is completely true. Like, can you show back that
Ah,
PPT?
I will wait. I'm sharing my screen.
Just, just a second.
Yeah,
I might
yeah,
show if I have that document.
yeah. I shared my screen.
So what you have shown is completely correct. Like once you even switch from pages, no, the data
Yes,
shouldn't
yes.
change. The
I,
consistency
I
should
will
be
show
there.
that. So, for example, if you switch, it should not change. The bullet point should start from the same place.
Exactly.
Yes. So guys, so what we are talking about is, let's say this in this page, the first bullet point starts from here. When I go from first slide to second slide, the first point is starting little to the right side. If you see, I'm quickly switching between both. You can see there is a movement. If someone comes across this, that is the first thing they'll point out. Whenever you change any slides, okay. So now you see still there is a movement. There should not be any kind of movement when you go back and forth with the slides. Like I'll show you the difference. Now if you see when I'm switching the slides, there is no movement now. That movement is gone. So that is what we are talking about. There should not be any kind of deviation. If bullet point starts at this location in the third slide, it should start exactly there in the fourth slide also.
Correct. So for this, the best strategy is to copy this first
Yes.
sheet
Yeah.
and then change the inner content, because at the
Yes.
end of the day, you know that the data, whatever you will enter, it will stay in Arial only in 7 size. And if any
Yes.
heading you are putting, it will be in Times New Roman 11.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's no point of like changing font size or font type.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all
True.
these rules are important because even if let's say you are a blue-eyed boy of your company like Mohit is or Sanjay is, or and then your director is also supporting you, your VP is also supporting you, everybody at the top is supporting you, and you're very happy that you did a great job. However, there will always be a team of corporate communication in big companies. There is a separate department for corporate communication and press releases. They will stop it right away, and they have the highest say because this because that they will report directly to the CEO. So regardless of who has done what in IT or on the business side, at the end of the day, it has to go to them if it has to come out to the public in certain cases, and and they will control the narrative.
Yes, yes, that is absolutely true. And maybe you may not find a separate department like this in startups or MSMEs, but in MNCs, definitely you'll have a separate department for like branding, for communication, for public relations, etc. So they have certain guidelines which they will give for all the other people, and everyone should follow those.
Exactly, Sanjay. In the initial days, I didn't understood the concept of all this, because in the initial days, I thought like how you showcase this to keep a standard format. I thought that it's destroying my creativity. If I'm
Yeah, yeah,
following the standard templates and all,
yes,
what's the point behind my own creativity? Why I spent lakhs on MBA? But
yes,
later, in the later stages, I understood this, that we rate as an employee, we rate a company based on the work life balance, whatever
yes,
compensation, salary, whatever we are getting. But at
yes,
the end of the day, it's very important for every business to sell its products. And
correct.
how these companies become better is like how valuable and how important the reports are, how professionally they are dealing with, how valuable insights they are giving, how professional all the data is. At the end of the day, sale happens on basis of that only.
True.
Yeah.
And for people who are wondering like how did I learn these things and all, so even though I never worked in big 3 or big 4, I did attend many interviews as well. At that point of time, ultimately uh, there was some joining delays and all these things happening because of the COVID second wave. But how I came to know all these things is, if you remember, I have done internship with Havisham Consulting. So Mr. Havish, he is the corporate trainer for 3 out of 4 big fours. So he is the trainer for E&Y, PwC, and KPMG. So for all these 3 out of 4 big fours, he is the corporate trainer across India. Like whenever he takes any session, so they invite. It depends on department to department, like whether they'll invite or not, and all these things. So he actually trains Big Four people on Excel, PowerPoint, and all these things back in 2021. So he used to tell me all these things. So whenever a training session is there, he would be super busy. Evening we'll connect, and then he used to give me a gist, important things. Okay, Sanjay, this is what you have to do. These are the guidelines. This is how consulting works. So even if you go to his YouTube channel and if you watch, a lot of things related to this will be discussed in some of the podcasts. So it's so when you, I mean, in our group itself, we have a lot of Big Four consultants. So you can just talk to people who are working in Big Three and Big Four. You will understand a lot of things.
Sanjay, I think we can share another secret of yours, which has helped you a lot. We've had conversation about it. It is that you have done, a little bit of course, something on UI UX.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I have,
that gave you a
yes.
sense. It's like Steve Jobs, that connected the dots for you, gave you more sense of design.
Yes. So there is one course which is from University of Colorado. So it's actually a it's actually a specialization, Arun. I have done this during COVID. I have completed 2 courses. The third one probably I'll have to complete now since I have the subscription finally. So there is one specialization called. So this is very, very good. I absolutely recommend this. This is called Effective Communication, Writing, Design, and Presentation Specialization. So this one consists of 3 courses offered by University of Colorado Boulder. So the first course is on business writing. I highly recommend this business writing because it just changes the way you are articulating things. I would say that this course has been a game changer. Why I was able to articulate things better on LinkedIn. Without this course, my written communication would have been much worse. It is okay right now, but before it was actually worse. After taking this course, it has improved a lot. So this particular course talks about how to simplify your writing mainly. That is the main key takeaway. I didn't learn any new vocabulary. I didn't learn any stylish language, nothing. What this course taught me was how to simplify your communication so that everyone can understand and relate to what you're speaking. After this course, there is another course called graphic design. So this is again a very, very good course. The instructor is actually very good with using different kinds of graphic design tools. Now this course has 2 components. So if you go to the course contents, there are actually 4 parts. So he will teach both the technical and non-technical aspects. I haven't gone through the technical part because that is optional. You can just go through the non-technical part. So what is good about this particular course is he talks about different things. Like for example, the font, the color palette, how you can actually use the combination of different color palettes and fonts to create the message which you want to showcase to the audience. It's a very, very good course. So you can only do 2 weeks and complete the course. The third week and fourth week are optional. Maybe the syllabus might have changed. I have done this 4 years back. So this is very, very good course. And then finally, the third course in this one is the presentation course. This is also a very, very good one. So it talks about how to build a very good presentation in a very structured format. So there is a rule in presentation called 3x3, 3x3. So you divide your presentation into 3 sections, and in each section you convey 3 important points. So totally you're going to convey 9 points in 3 sections, 3 plus 3 plus 3. So he talks about the 3x3 structure, and also it talks about how to make your presentations, like how to start, how to end the presentation, which is one of the areas where it can be very confusing. So this is also a very, very good course. Overall, it's a very good course if you want to improve your communication. So it covers writing, graphic design, presentation, and finally you'll have a capstone project. Now, if you want to pass the capstone project, you have to present something in front of audience and record it and submit it as part of the assignment. So it's not a theoretical thing. You have to practically do it, implement all the 3 courses, whatever you have learned, and then you can complete the capstone. So it's not easy. So it took me almost 2 months to complete the 3 courses. And then the capstone I'm yet to complete. Probably I'll complete it now since I have the subscription again. Yes, Arun. So this is the course which I was talking earlier.
Excellent, which is why I wanted to share your secret, which only I know with a lot of people, so that everybody is able to be confident.
Yes.
One more thing, Sanjay, can you share the great person who told you all about this, like PPT and skills on YouTube?
Okay. Yeah. So I will actually show one of his. So when I was doing internship, he was actually preparing that course at that point of time. There is one course from Havish. It is basically, see, he has two PowerPoint courses. Okay. Sorry, not Power BI, PowerPoint. After typing Power, immediately my hands will type Power BI instead of PowerPoint. Okay.
Happens.
Yeah, so this is one which is very, very good. So there are some YouTube videos also free of cost if you don't want to purchase the course. So he actually gives you a lot of examples like how like big three, big four consultants actually prepare PPTs. So this one, PowerPoint bundle, very affordable, but you can even go to YouTube. There is actually one part of the course which is free in this bundle, and you can go through it. Even if you don't want to purchase, in YouTube, all the videos from him are free. So he has a very good channel. So it is called Havish Madhvapati. Havish Madhvapati. So this is the channel which he has. Havish Madhvapati. It is very good. It consists of everything: Excel, Power Query, PowerPoint, Power Pivot, even Python, Tableau, Nime. There is one software called Nime. I don't know how many of you know it. So a lot of things are there. It's a gold mine. Yeah.
One challenge which I particularly face, Sanjay, is that how to get these professional slides. Do you know any websites where I can get these professional slides or decks?
You have
I,
Canva. Canva is very good.
Canva still ain't that professional, I believe. This is
I
just
know.
my belief.
Yes. I mean, it's not professional, but I find it easy to find a lot of templates which I can reuse them. But there is no specific professional site for this as far as I know. But Canva is the closest thing I can recommend. I know it's still far away, but
There are also some sources where if you type and say, hey, needed slide. So these companies make those slides. They have a large repository of slides that you can use, and you have to pay some amount, small sum of money. You can download a slide bundle or whatever, and these slides are on the pattern of MBB, McKinsey, Bain.
and BCG.
Yeah. So that will be, and they'll say these are the, and if you look at LinkedIn, you go to business infographics or infographics, you'll see a lot of things, and see these things are not the same. They will give you a set of slides, and they'll give you a set of creative, which is, but you but they continue to keep on developing new things every year to keep in business. So if you just Google needed slides for on just like BCG or like Bain or YouTube is full of it. And in fact, last year I loaded some YouTube videos, and there's also um, the Google is full of it.
True, that is true. Yeah, there are some websites which will sell templates, but they're expensive, I would say.
The only challenge, Arun, is like I don't know I'm able to explain it well or not. The only challenge is this: we don't get still that quality what the big companies how they do it. We still don't get it. Like
Because these individuals who develop slides, they spend a lot of time. It's their whole career. For you,
Yeah, exactly.
it's like finance.
Yes.
And for example, if my only job was to create pizza for you, or chola bhatura for you, or pani puri for you, then it will be my whole job. You cannot get as good as me, because I mean, you can get as good as me, but you'll have to do a lot of work for that, and that will be your only focus.
And also, guys, just for your information, so many people think that you need to learn Python to make a good career, right? Python or Power BI. So I just went to Naukri. and I typed PowerPoint specialist. If you see, the first thing which came was McKinsey, business presentation specialist training. And if you see, there are dedicated roles hired by consultants where your only job is to build PowerPoint presentations.
We I used to work for a huge big company a long 10 years back, 15 years back, and um, they used to have dedicated roles, such as they will hire UX
Yeah.
and UI engineers who have
Yes.
BTech degrees, engineering degrees, 4 or 5 years experience, and they'll be working on what? PowerPoints.
Yes.
I
And
mean,
I mean,
they did work for other things eventually, but the first 2 years they were only given PowerPoint. And
yes.
when they did the rotation, the MBA with the college have a rotation program. In the second rotation, they were given, okay, you will work for corporate communications, and now you will learn communications for 6 months. So there's a lot of grooming involved to do some of these roles.
Yes. And there are some roles where your only job is to build decks, and there are some roles where your only job is to build very good designs.
Would you mind, Sanjay and Arun, if I show a professional PPT here? I
Sure,
believe
sure.
it can
No,
help
no, no.
students.
This is getting recorded.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you can show it. Once we stop the recording, you can spend 5 minutes and feel free to show it if you like.
Sure.
For a recording, typically we keep away from any communication that has anything to do with any company, because typically an individual or a group of individuals, they may be looked down upon. It may be, whether or not they are looked down upon, it is improper to do that. It is illegal also to do that in certain cases.
Yes, I understand that, but okay, if you think so. But the data, whatever I put, is not exactly hypothetical, but I took it from outside sources. It's a public
Oh,
data.
okay, okay. If it is a publicly available
Data,
document, we can surely show it. Yeah, sure. Because we didn't.
Yes, because
Thank
I
you for
just
sharing
want
that.
to, yeah,
Yeah,
because I just want to show people like how things happen professionally in corporate.
sure.
That's why.
Go ahead. If it is available in public domain, go ahead and spend 2 minutes
yeah.
on it.
Yes.
Yes. I'll be joining from other ID. Okay, just 1 second.
Sanjay, there are a couple of hands raised, including me. Hope
Yeah.
you see
Yes.
them.
Yes. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Sanjay. So I had a question like, is it good to add animations to our PowerPoint?
I
What's the
would say no. I mean, see, it again depends, totally depends on the context. I would say no. In Because from what I have seen and I have seen like both sides. Like I have interacted with a lot of these big four, big three, and also even generally the consultants who are there outside, freelancing consultants. And I have also been on the opposite side as well. So from what I have seen, no, zero, no animations.
And to
Okay.
extend to add to Sanjay's point, uh, if you work for, let's say, a great creative company, they may be loving if you do some animation
Yes.
depending upon the requirement. However, if it is a company like, for example, Amazon, right? And you go ahead and give your whatever story you have to tell. At the end of the day, every company does storytelling, right? But if you do storytelling with data, which is the um, focus of this presentation today, how do you think they'll react to it? Anybody? Is anybody
So
here from Amazon? Mohit, how do you think? How do you think Amazon will react to PowerPoint presentation?
PowerPoint they will accept for sure, but these visually
No.
appealing or how it happens, it's not at
Okay.
all welcome anywhere.
Okay. The answer is they will throw you out of. They will.
Yes.
If
Yes.
Jeff Bezos is sitting and if you have Amazon PowerPoint presentation, he will throw you out of the room.
True.
Not exactly in that manner,
Yeah.
Amazon is a
Yes.
company that hates PowerPoint, and in the 14 principles of 14 or 16 principles now, Bezos, he has categorically stated he does not want PowerPoint. So none of the people in the entire company do PowerPoint. So, to make the point here, data with storytelling is key. How you tell it or what's the focus of which company depends on their individual needs and requirements.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so Mohit, please go ahead and share with us. And by the way, we love your enthusiasm. Please share with us whatever you were going to show.
Thanks, Arun. Thanks a lot for that. Just for letting you people know, the whatever I am going to share, it's public domain. The data is available in public domain.
Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah, it's a public data. Yeah.
Just let me know once you see my screen. Just 1 second.
In the meantime, I can also see Nimla's hand up,
Yeah.
and we can take her question
That's
in a
right.
minute.
Yes. Good.
Yeah. So basically, it's the secondary research.
Good.
So all this data will be there
Format
in the
looks good.
public domain. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to you.
Go on. So where do you get this data from?
Statista and Deloitte report is there on Google.
जो numbers है ना उसका थोड़ा font छोटा करना अच्छा नहीं लग रहा ग्राफ में.
Okay, नीचे वाला, right?
हाँ.
Okay.
ठीक है. और next है. टैलेंट शॉर्टेज में पिक्चर अलग देना.
किसमें? टैलेंट शॉर्टेज में. Okay.
Can you please stick to English because it's being recorded? It
ठीक
goes
है.
to some people. That
इतना ही है.
is
10 pages का है. वो templates. This was all, guys. When I joined PwC, they asked me to do a research and submit a PPT. So that's when I recorded and share this. And just for getting feedback, I recorded this. Otherwise, we are not even allowed to record things obviously in Google Meet or anywhere else. If you record, they will get to know. And in order to get feedback and in order to write whatever the changes they wanted, that's why I recorded it. And all this data is available publicly. And one more thing, they asked us to showcase like what we did in MBA, how professionally we can develop PPTs and all. That's why they asked us this. So that's when I recorded this. So nothing confidential and anything like that. In this case, am I audible?
Yeah, thank you, Mohit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mohit. It was very insightful.
Thanks, Sanjay. You gave all the lesson. I just gave an example to it so that people can understand better. I hope it will help all the students who want
No,
to
it
get
will
into.
definitely help because many of the members who are attending this session, they never worked in Big Three or Big Four, and many of them are college students and freshers. So learning these things early, I think, will definitely help them. Now they have seen example as well.
Sanjeev,
Exactly.
one of the things I want to, I first of all, I think we should acknowledge our great communicator Nimla Sundaram, who is also great with the, great at storytelling with data. Nimla, I see your hands up. Do you have a question for us?
Yeah, thanks, Arun. So Sanjay, my question is more relating to, you showed some really nice charts, right? Like the Sankey charts and all these charts. But as we've discussed also, right, we have a standardized template. So I'm in finance, so my charts are pretty much, the most exciting chart is waterfall chart, right? It's very stable, standard,
Yes.
boring.
It is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I usually present right after like the more exciting teams, right? Like facilities and animal health. You know, they have more exciting presentations. So I'm trying to, give my presentation a better feel. So have you been able to convince your team or build a case to be able to use these charts externally and not just stick with the template? And if you have been able to do that, how have you been able to do that?
I mean, in terms of my role, so I never worked in a role where directly I am involved in deciding or making presentations, but I always, you can say like in the back end, I always worked on presentations. Now, in terms of presenting, what I generally do is, I mean, this has been the way from starting of the career. So just to give context to every member in this audience, so once I had given presentation in front of Cabinet Subcommittee of Government of Telangana, where there were 3 state ministers who were sitting, and then there were like almost 30 bureaucrats, IAS, IRS, and even IPS officers who are sitting in the same room, including principal secretaries, commissioners, assistant commissioners, and everybody. So when I give presentations, I have given until state level, and then I have also given presentations where I had to give a presentation to investors. Like basically, I have to pitch in the idea and then for getting the funding. So, and then I have also made very, very general presentations. For example, if I want to give a presentation on a particular technical topic, so I have built presentations. So from what I have seen is the best way which I found to convince anybody right from start of my career till today is first I will build something and then I'll show it. Hey, this is what I want to present. 90% of the time I get an approval after seeing it. When I articulate something, people will say, no, just stick to the template, people will say. But when I actually build something and show it, then people are like, yeah, this is looking very good. Because obviously when I try to present something also, I make sure that I try to select the design which is very good and also appeals to that person. Like if I have to give you an example, I have come across one situation where the person hates pie charts to his core. And then I have seen people who want the most fancy charts. So you should also understand that person. Based on that, you have to go and show something based on their interest and taste, and definitely they'll approve. Like my success rate has been like 90%, I would say, like majority of the time. Hardly I'll get no. That too, when the chart is like mostly it is with the ribbon chart or snaky chart. Sankey chart, whenever I show that, people are like, no, don't go with that. People say, but most of the time I also stick with very basic charts. 100% stat column chart, bar chart, pie chart, donut. People had donut charts. Right from the beginning, back in 2015, I once used donut chart. People said no donut chart. I want only pie chart. Few charts people are against. Those definitely you cannot convince. But when you use normal charts with some annotation and everything, I think people will accept. But yes, like you mentioned, Sankey chart or ribbon charts, they are very, very tough to convince someone because people feel it's very confusing. Because we are talking about Gen X and baby boomers who are in the senior positions right now. Obviously for them they'll not get connected to it. Gen Y is also fine, but baby boomers and Gen X, no. 90% of the time, no. They are like, no, I want a traditional chart. I don't want anything beyond that.
Yeah, that's the struggle. And so I like the point where you suggested like build a chart and then show them, right? Because sometimes people are very visual. They want to see something before they can weigh in on things. But even certain times to build these fancy charts, right? That proprietary software or something, you need to purchase it, or you need to, have permissions to bring it into the company, or, things like that. So, it's like a failed attempt. But I hear you. I guess it's more on so I had to rely on the way I tell the story more than the chart itself, and that's why I was wondering if you had strategies. Okay, thank you for your input. That was really helpful. Thank you.
And Nimrod, that's a good segue into the question that I was going to ask anyways, because if I look at Sanjay, if none of these beautiful charts and images and fancy things were present, Sanjay can hold a communication even without anything. How many of you have heard his nice little voice messages? Anyone? Okay, many of you have done that. So if you look at the simple voice messages and how he tells, like there'll be a simple event he'll talk about, or something he has attended, or something that is a tip for people. Even that he uses, uh, whether it is knowingly or unknowingly, he very skillfully uses the tone, the appeal, the storytelling appeal in those messages, so that it makes a point very very clear to people. So it has become a second art for Sanjay, having been a trainer, Microsoft certified trainer for some time, having been dealing with a lot of students for some time, having judged competitions for a long time. This becomes a second habit for a person. So so the question that I was going to ask you, Sanjay, is since everybody has seen that you have been able to demo these skills, what are some of the things? What are some of the resources? Suppose I was a fresh MBA. What resources, or how can I develop? If I look up to you and want to develop like you or like Nirmala here, how do I do that? How do I improve my communication skills? Uh, I mean, many people have told me, go read The Hindu, go read this newspaper, that newspaper.
It's
Will that work in storytelling, or are there some other methods also available? And you can answer that, and maybe Nirmala can also, because she has been in India, and she has been in US. She has seen cultures of 5 different continents. So maybe she also has an input or two about how to develop these basic skills. And but guys, I'm utilizing Nirmala because, as most of you know, she has been delivering a lot of good communication lectures for us, and she has been spearheading the business communication um, group for us, for teaching you about job interviews and all those things, and giving mini lectures and seminars. So with that, I'll let Sanjay answer first, and then Nirmala.
Yes, sir. I would say the best starting point for I mean, if people have done MBA, they'll have an advantage because in MBA, a lot of times you have to work on PowerPoint and lot of assignments, group projects, no matter what it is, you have to ultimately present that project. And people who have done MBA will definitely have a lot of exposure in using PowerPoint. But if someone hasn't used PowerPoint before, if you studied only BCom or BB or BTech, then probably the amount of exposure you have towards PowerPoint will be very limited. So what I suggest is start reading these reports, which I just showed. So it can be any report, not the reports which I just showed. They keep on publishing reports on different topics. Don't take a topic which you are not interested. Like for example, if you are interested in fintech, try to read the reports which are published about fintech. Now they also publish reports on AI. So there is one report by McKinsey there they talk about how AI is impacting different industries and different sectors. So try to take the reports where your interest lies and only take these big four and big three reports. Of course, there are many firms as well which will build, but definitely big three, big four reports will give as a very good standard. I mean, they'll set the standard in terms of the expectations. So you don't have to go and read each and every page. Just go through the charts which they are there and how they are conveying those messages. Just skim through it. You don't have to read each and every word for it. So those charts will convey a lot of information for you. And the second thing which I focus is you should focus on PowerPoint. You should learn PowerPoint and you should be very good with PowerPoint. And there is also a Microsoft certification on PowerPoint which will show you how many features are there. Many people don't know Slide Master. They do not know that we can use macros in PowerPoint, and people do not know the difference between a transition versus the animation. So there are a lot of things in PowerPoint which you can actually learn. The aim is not to clear the certification, but you can go through the syllabus and see what all amazing things you can do. And the third thing is, yes, sir.
So Sanjay, sorry to interrupt. So the question, I think I may have miscommunicated from my end. So what I wanted was, you have these tools, number one, number two, number three, and you've given some wonderful, beautiful examples. My question was also trying to highlight, even if you, let's say I don't have PowerPoint, let's say I don't have I do not know slide transition and all these interesting things. While it is very important to know them for majority of the companies, let's say I don't have
Yeah.
the tools. I was talking about your ability and Nirmala's ability to deliver without all these tools and without all these PPTs. How do you still deliver? How do you still story tell? So I'm focusing
Okay.
on the
Yes.
first word
Yes.
story. So how do you develop? How did you as a person, or what recommendations do you have to develop the communication skills? And that was you. So I pretended that I'm in a Miss India competition, and I'm asking the same question to you and same question to Nimla.
Okay.
So
Yes. Yes. Got it. Okay, so if you forget about tools for a moment, when we talk about communication and also storytelling as a skill, what I suggest is always use a simple language. That is the first thing. You don't have to learn any kind of specialized vocabulary. That is one thing which I want to tell. Because many people, when we talk about communication, people think about grammar, people think about vocabulary, all these things. You don't need any of that. You just have to speak in a way where everyone can relate and understand to what you're saying. That's it. Now, for example, some people they try to they try to speak in a way, they try very hard to speak in a stylish language. Some people try to use some fake accent. You know, some people try very hard. You don't have to do that. You can just speak in a very natural tone, because some people have this inferiority complex that what if I speak in an Indian accent to an international audience? Trust me, it doesn't matter, because everyone speaks in a different accent. If you talk to Europeans, just listen how a German speaks English versus how UK person speaks English. So everybody has their own accent. You don't have to feel bad about it. So speak in your natural tone and always try to use a very simple language and simple sentences. In all my voice notes, have you ever seen me using any complex language or complex words? You will never see that. I always try to use simple language. Now, I am someone who prepared for GRE, and I think I got around 116 verbal section out of, I think 158 out of 117 verbal section. So I have crammed all those 1,000 words which are important for GRE. It's not like I don't know these words, but when you use language and when you're trying to speak to someone, people should be able to understand what you're saying. And also, when you're talking, you don't have to put long sentences and speak. Make the sentences very short. So, for example, when we are in school, you might have learned we have the simple sentences and complex sentences. You don't have to use complex or compound sentences. Just use simple sentences. And the most important thing when you speak is you don't have to make it very complicated structure. Like, for example, people try to become robotic, like they'll try to have a script. You don't have to write a script, because if you try to write a script and memorize, and if you want to convey, it doesn't sound natural. What you have to do is you just have to start with very, very small thing. So you can start with 1 minute voice notes, or you can record yourself with your camera, and you can probably put it on YouTube in a private link and share it to someone for a feedback. So when I was in MBA, what I used to do is every day I used to record 2 minutes video. I used to take the latest news from the internet, so something related to foreign exchange or something related to economics, and I used to record myself, and then I used to send it as a private link to my economics professor. So he used to see the video and he used to give me the feedback. So it's not on public domain. So if you are self-conscious, so that is one thing which you can do. Another thing which you can do to improve your communication skills is you have to start hosting webinars, or you have to start speaking about something. So you don't have to be expert in what you're speaking, but at least as a learner, you can always share your knowledge with other people. I improved my communication skills because of two reasons. One reason why I improved my communication skills, whether you believe it or not, is so I do not understand Hindi, and I went to Rajasthan to study my MBA, Jaipur. So Manipal University, Jaipur. So because I don't know Hindi, I had to speak to everyone in English. So I was forced to speak in English every single day. That is one thing. And second thing, what happened was, so that is one reason. Now the second reason why I was able to improve, because so by the time I was about to complete my MBA, already I have given presentations, and also I lost my stage fear. Even before MBA, I lost my stage fear. So losing stage fear is one thing which you have to come out of, because whether you are hosting a virtual event or a physical event, the biggest challenge will be the stage fear, because you will become self-conscious and you will be thinking, okay, what will people think if I make a mistake? So that is one of the biggest challenges in improving our communication skills. The only way to lose stage fear is you have to keep hosting webinars, or you have to keep talking in public domain. Like for example, if you feel very self-conscious, you can start with voice notes. Then slowly you can start hosting one session. I still remember when I first hosted my webinar. So I will tell you the background also. When I joined Havisham Consulting as an intern, so I was about to complete my MBA. The first thing which Havish sir told me was, Sanjay, you are good in a technical terms, but in terms of communication, you are lagging behind. You have to start hosting webinars. So he gave me that advice as soon as I joined him as an intern in January 2021. I was so self-conscious and reluctant that, and he even told me to start making YouTube videos at that point of time. I'm talking about 3 years back. I was very reluctant. And then finally, one day I decided that, okay, I cannot be so reserved. And almost after 3 months, I hosted my first webinar. I was very nervous. I was going very, very fast. I was talking very fast because I was nervous, and people could not understand what I was telling. And it was very, very, I would say, it made me very uncomfortable. Then slowly I picked up. I mean, in that session only, I corrected myself. I started going very slow. And then I hosted another webinar. The second webinar also, it didn't go very well. Then third, fourth, fifth. So I started hosting webinar every 2 weeks once. And I used to take topics which are very uncomfortable for me. So whenever I take any topic which is not comfortable, I am forced to research about that topic so that I can learn that topic very well, and then I can present it. And sometimes people ask tough questions during the webinars. Like they will ask some advanced question. If I don't know, I'll simply say, yeah, I don't know the answer. I mean, there is no shame in that if you say if you don't know. So these two things definitely help me. To lose your stage fear, you have to keep on presenting. First time you will have a lot of stage fear. Second time you will have less. Third time you will have even less. By the time you give your 10th or 20th webinar, you will not even have stage fear. It comes naturally. And when you talk about communication also, some people are very self-conscious about their English. Like for example, a lot of people make some small mistakes in the grammar. Now, if I have to give you a very good example, even Arun can, even he can add some few words about this. Only few countries are English-speaking countries. Like for example, you take UK or maybe Australia or maybe US. If you take many European countries, if you go to Germany, their language is German. If you go to France, it's French. Spain, so you have Spain, you have Italy, you have different countries in Europe, and many of them speak broken English. Like if you go to German or France and if you try to hear their English, it's not as good as the countries where the native language is English. If you go and hear English spoken by Chinese, or maybe if you go to perhaps Japan, or if you go to maybe like Switzerland or something like that, people don't speak perfect English. People only speak good English who belong to like US or countries where native language is English. For many people, first language is not English. And if you look, they are very successful. Like a lot of European countries where first language is not English. Even they also speak broken English, many of them. So you don't have to feel inferior about it. It's okay. Even if you speak broken English, that's completely fine. Have you ever seen Italian people speaking English? They have a completely different accent and they speak in a different way. But still, it's fine. That is something which you have to overcome. You should not have that inferiority complex.
So I want to say 2 comments, Sanjay. First of all, I want to say when you are chosen as a speaker for storytelling with data, you are not only a master of storytelling, and this is a real kudos to you, Sanjay. I don't get a chance to say this very often in public to you, but you have a real art not only of storytelling and communication, but you have a great art which is even which is a prerequisite for storytelling, which is story listening. So you have, when you talk nicely about people like Sachin, people like Havish, people like people that you have met and you have been inspired because of their some things, or you even talk about me sometimes, or other your own colleagues, or you have this humility and the grace of listening to other people speak and trying to see how is somebody doing it better and slightly more clear. So over the years, you have developed this great art. Similarly, Nimla is one of the people whom I admire, who 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 invests a lot of time. One day I asked her, "Hey, it's just a presentation. You're going to give to XYZ person or even a COE. COE does not even it's nobody's rating you. You're not getting pro." She said, "No, no, Arun. I have to spend like maybe 10 hours, and I have to spend my Saturday and Sunday just preparing for it because I want to do like the best for the people to bring out the business, the communication skills in them, and my preparation has to be so that they understand it in a very simple way and it goes directly to the heart. So that quality of preparing and listening to people is very important to me. The second comment I want to give was, you are absolutely right about the people. Some people believe that if I speak English very fast, or if I'm like Shashi Tharoor with a great vocab, only then can somebody understand me. And that is absolutely wrong, like you've just pointed out. Having said that, I will switch over to good speakers of English always speak slowly. If you have heard like some really good speakers, they'll be slow and clear. So you don't have to be very fast to speak English for everybody to understand. You saw how what I did.
Yes, yes, yes.
So you don't have to be fast. You have to just keep your tone normal, gather your ideas, speak clearly, and people will understand. Even if you don't have the best choice of the words, people will understand. With that, I would like to have Nirmala speak a couple words on how do you improve business communication, because that's a very important group we have which she's leading. Nirmala.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Arun. So I think Sanjay actually, and as well as Arun, captured a lot of points that I believe in as well. But I always start things with a quote, because quote helps explain a lot of things, right? So the quote that I believe in for communication is, you can have all the great ideas in the world, and if you cannot communicate, nobody will hear them. Right. So Sanjay is a Power BI expert. We all know that. We know all his work. But if he was not able to put that forth to us, the whole COE group would not be formed, right? Or whatever other things that he does in LinkedIn and in his career as well. So I take that to heart, right? So I do a lot of work, but I want to make sure that my work gets communicated. So I keep that in mind before I start presentations. A couple other things, I'll quickly go over that. I know the intention behind this call is more to showcase Sanjay. So I do always understand the audience that I'm presenting to. Am I speaking to upper management? Am I speaking to my peers? Am I speaking to a COE audience? Who is it? And why are they here? Right? Time is more important than money. So they're spending their 1 hour or 2 hour, right? So I have to make sure that I give them what they're coming for. So when you have these couple things in your mind, in the back of your mind, your presentation automatically becomes crisper. For my corporate presentations, my work presentations, I keep it very, very simple. I keep 3 slides, right? I'm a finance person. My finance charts are very boring. It's tables, charts, few exciting charts are, waterfall charts. So I have 3 bullet points, the top points that I try to communicate. And then I say there are other things that I want to talk about. If there's a need for it, then I can delve into it. And then I let people talk and people get more engaged. I keep my language simple. I think Sanjay beautifully touched on it. I never speak complicated words. I want everybody in the room to be a part of my conversation. I try to make it very inclusive, no matter. And I work with a lot of global team members. So it's important for me that everybody, irrespective of which country, irrespective of which, how strong their English or not is, they understand the concepts. And I tend to speak fast. So I am making the presentation skills are something that you don't become an expert. I'm still a learner. I firmly believe I've still a lot to learn. So I try to speak slower. I try to, pause for questions. I try to use silence a lot. Those are all small things which people don't even think about when presenting. Silence is so powerful, right? Stop and make sure that the room understands what you're talking. And if there are questions, address it before they move on to the next slide. Sometimes in finance, right, one slide leads on to the other slide. And if people don't understand your first slide, then they've lost you. right? So those are like things that I keep in mind when I present, especially because my area is so boring and it's not exciting, and you don't have like beautiful things like popping up in my slide and, you know, swanky buildings or beautiful puppies or anything, you know, so it's all numbers and charts. So I hope
Nimla,
gives.
let me ask you a follow-up question, which is very extremely important in our careers, regardless of whether we are at a junior level, mid-level, or senior level. Sometimes, with the best of the intentions, with the best of communication, with the best of storytelling, with the best of tools and techniques and data available to us, there are possibilities of facing rejection anyways. How do you deal with such rejection, and have you ever faced such instances where, in spite of your best intention and everything tool available to you, has there been any rejections you have faced, or any you presented something, people said, oh, but I, but you're missing this, or we did not like this. Do you take it to heart? Do you take it personally? Or how do you and Sanjay face such situations?
Does Sanjay want to answer first, or is this question addressed to me first?
Anybody can answer. Please go ahead, Nirmala.
Okay, I'll just wrap up and then I'll hand it out to Sanjay. So, of course, rejections, and in fact, I actually embrace rejections. If you have watched, I've done a couple presentations for COE. I always ask for feedback, and my feedback is live. And I've always opened up for any feedback to go to Arun or any of the organizing members if people are hesitant to come and tell me directly, right? I'm open to it. I love it. I see rejection as an opportunity for growth. And my biggest growth has happened when rejection has happened. So when they reject me, or when they say, oh my goodness, that presentation was awful, and it has happened in the past, I always go back to them and I spend a few minutes and say, hey, please, can you tell me what could I do to improve it? Yes, it sucked. It was terrible. But what could I have done to improve it? Can you give me some ideas? And 9 out of 10 times, the way you say something is more important than what you say, right? When I come with this open mindset or a growth mindset that I really want to improve, I'm lost. I don't know how to improve. People are, they love to give you advice, and everything that they give, you might not apply to you, but you might have tried, it might not have worked, but there's always one nugget which comes out of that, right? And you zero in on that and you pull it and you try it for your next presentation. I was never good at presenting, and like Sanjay touched on it, I've done my MBA. I had no choice, right? I had to present. My first class was a presentation. Like, I just walk into my MBA and my first class is present about yourself. Right. So these are things. So, you just become better and better. But I always go for feedback. That is one thing which has helped me in my life. Sanjay, if you want to, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Nimla. Sanjay, before you start giving your feedback, I must tell you one secret about Nimla. So the whole of this year, I've been trying to teach her Hindi, how to present her thoughts in Hindi as well. But I realized that she's a better Hindi speaker. I mean, her English is excellent, but her Hindi is also excellent, and she hides it very well. So I was trying to impress her by teaching her Hindi all of this year, and of course, as you can see, she did much better than I could teach her. Similarly, anybody that believes that you do not know Hindi, you keep saying, I don't know Hindi, or I don't know this. But I think you can understand the emotions and the context very, very well. So that was a secret. That was a fun fact. Now, please tell us, how do you handle rejections? Sanjay, have you ever faced rejections in your life when you're communicating? Because I have faced more rejections than anybody else can, and my English is very poor.
Yeah, I mean, one challenge I face with respect to communication is whenever I speak to someone who is higher up in terms of hierarchy, for some reason I can speak okay with my peers and also in informal setting, but suddenly if I have to present something to someone who is very high in the hierarchy, it could be anything like outside of my work or within my work. Right from the beginning, that is one issue which I face, because I am like, okay, what if I speak something wrong? That self-consciousness comes into picture. So there are instances where words were not coming out of my mouth. Like, I'm like staying silent, frozen, and I couldn't speak. And definitely that's a bad experience. But over a period of time, I improved, because one of the feedback which I got was, like I don't smile a lot. That is one thing which many people give as a feedback. Then I incorporated that one. So generally, when you start talking to anybody, you first wish them, and then probably you'll ask how is your day and all. Probably you'll also incorporate some humor into your conversation, not like silly jokes or something like very natural and something which is appropriate for the audience. So these two things I think are the areas where I need to improve myself. One is in terms of how do I start. Second thing is in terms of incorporating humor into my presentations, which is good humor, not like something inappropriate.
Thank you, Sanjay. At this point, I think we should take some additional questions from the audience. We have few minutes for that. So, guys, the best way you can utilize this seminar is to communicate, regardless of your language, regardless of how you're saying it, how many mistakes you can make, or don't be self-conscious. Please engage with us in the seminar. Ask us questions that you have on your mind, or if you have nothing on your mind, you can potentially say, did you enjoy this seminar so far? Did you what were the key takeaways? Some Say anything, but I would like few people to say something. So who's the first brave person?
I'll be the first person, I guess. Thank you, Sanjay. Whatever you said is absolutely true. I have witnessed it all my life, and I'm seeing it in my job too. Hello.
Yes,
Thank
Mohit.
you.
So
Yes, Mohit.
how do you overcome this? I mean, if you have been seeing it for some time, what are some of the methods? Because everybody has a different method of receiving feedback and acting upon that. How were you able to do it?
For us in the initial days, it was difficult for me also because I came out from an MBA college. I knew skills, I knew things, how to do them. But once you get into corporate, they expect a complete professional experience from you. They start teaching you, but they expect also in return that how valuable you are or how much valuable deliveries you are giving them in return. So anybody who wants to invest their time, they want to see, they expect results. So you have to deliver your time. And for me, it was not that difficult because once I joined a big company, they usually give trainings. They give you they invest on your training. They give you 1 or 2 months time to upskill yourself, or in case anyway, like they show you everything, like how things happen. They give you an intro of everything. At that time you can take notes that where you are lagging and how you can work on them. That's on you. Otherwise you can take the help of your seniors too. They are also helpful. They will tell you how you can overcome these challenges you are facing. Luckily, I was really lucky that I got seniors like that.
Guys, thank you for sharing that, Mohit. And guys and girls, whenever you have seminars by Sanjay, by any senior mentor, especially by Nirmala Sundaram, please watch out for the seminar. Never miss that, because this year we planned on delivering many one mini workshop every month at least, whether it is done by Nirmala or some other good people. We're going to have a lot of workshops, mini workshops. They can be on any topic, but they are meant to engage people. They are meant to elaborate on uh, some or the other aspect, whether it is interviews or storytelling or other things. Uh, like Sanjay has been sharing, he will come up with one task. For example, he'll say, write a 2 minute, speak 2 minutes about this topic, and record it and send it in the business communication group. Many of us have not been participating, so I would strongly request those people to start participating in the business communication group, because the very name of that group is business communication. So you can communicate in writing, you can communicate orally, but please start doing that regardless of who you are. You might be working for Accenture or MBB or any one of the greatest companies in the world, but if you don't engage with us, you will not be able to engage when it comes to your real practical corporate life. So start doing it now. I'm doing it, Sanjay is doing it, Nimla is doing it, many of our senior people are doing it. So I strongly urge that you guys pay attention to the business communication group and start engaging. Otherwise, there's no point of having that group. And if nobody is engaging, I would go ahead and close it down. As simple as that. I'm not threatening here. I'm trying to provoke you guys to start taking action. So anybody does it? Do we have anybody else other than Mohit who can either have a comment on uh, what one key takeaway from the seminar that you might implement, or you might want to share any of the anecdotes that you have? Anyone?
Yeah, hi Arun. Ranjit this side.
Yes, Ranjit. Wow,
Yeah,
Ranjit, you have been a great participant. I've been seeing you across many webinars and seminars, including our ADE with Ashok. So please go ahead and share your views.
yeah, thank you so much, Arun. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, so I really like to thank Sanjay and Nimala for the wonderful session. So my key takeaways in this from this webinar is, uh, how to effectively, visualize, tell the story using visualization and everything, and also, some techniques and reports that Sanjay uh, show up, show in, he presented on the webinar. So thank you so much for the session, Sanjay. My question is that, like, since you said that you have, uh, you feel uncomfortable when you speak with higher people with the higher hierarchy. So I do have the same, feeling as well. So what is that one thing that we or one has to keep in mind when they, present a meeting, or talk to people in the higher hierarchy? So that's my question to you. Thank you.
There is no specific answer. So one thing which you can do is, it's, I mean, when I talk about it, it sounds like a complicated thing, but I'll try to simplify it. In psychology, we have a concept called reframing. So reframing is basically you're trying to change your perspective whenever you're trying to, whenever you're in a situation where you're not able to handle the context. So, for example, whenever I speak to higher authorities, I always feel very uncomfortable. But the best part is, whenever I host any webinar or whenever I host any session where very senior people are attending, I don't feel any issue. Then what I realized was, the problem which I am facing is, when I am the host in a webinar, automatically I assume that I am the speaker and then I'm speaking to a group of audience. So my role is already defined as a speaker. But when I speak to higher management, still I have that perception that, okay, they are very, I mean, their level is way above me, and I don't know what to speak in front of them. Something like that I used to think. Then I thought it's all about the perspective, and then I started to change the perspective. So whenever I speak to anyone who is like higher up to me, I imagine myself as I am delivering a session to them rather than thinking that it's a conversation. That has really changed my perspective on in terms of how I present. So I no longer have that feeling that, okay, I'm presenting to someone who is higher up. I'm just presenting a topic where my role is to speak about something and I'm the speaker.
Uh, Sanjay, I would like to add a comment. Although I'm still feverish and it's very cold outside here. I'm standing outside in a place where it's cold, but I'll give couple comments. So
Okay.
the what is work for me is earlier when I used to give presentations, I used to make it. I used to make it I used to spend a lot of time trying to make it perfect, trying to make sure that I understand what is required of me for that particular role or for that particular job. As a manager, as a senior manager, as a director, even as a VP, I have to do that, right? So I used to always look at my audience and try to deliver them the perfect presentation that I could do using the best abilities. So, whenever the time came, I realized those were my younger years. They are like 20 years back, or 10 years back, or whatever number of years back. I always used to feel I will just deliver the presentation, I'll do a great job, and I'll wear the best dress and have a great communication, and I usually do the best, right? However, what I realized was many of my initial managers or people senior to me pointed out
Uh, I mean, they did. I earned a lot of promotions. I learned a lot of kudos from them. But what I have realized is, if you don't engage with them ahead of time, so we always feel that let us show somebody our finished product, and we'll go to them with the best presentation. We'll deliver them. Let's say I have to deliver it on Monday or Tuesday. I will go only on Tuesday, only at that time, and present it to them. And I realize that it comes to them as a surprise. But if I engage with them ahead of time, I set up mini meetings with them. So, for example, I'll speak to, if I was presenting to a senior manager and I was just an assistant manager or a junior MBA, I would make time. I would go to them and say, "Sir, here is the mini draft that I've prepared. Can I have some feedback on that before we present it with to in public to the ultimate audience that we have?" So those mini meetings with them have helped me uh, to. So I would go to multiple people and ask for their feedback while I was doing that, and they loved it because by the time actual presentation happened, I had lined all my ducks in the row. They were all they had seen a draft copy of the presentation, and they were very happy that I'm presenting it to them. So that is for the internal presentations. For the external presentations also, if I'm going to give a presentation directly to the client on behalf of the company that I work for, I would I would make sure that my immediate boss or the key stakeholders have seen a copy of the presentation and they have approved it, they have reviewed it, I've taken their feedback. So it has been vetted between our internal team, because when we presented it to the client, my boss should not have an element of surprise. I mean, he should not feel that, oh my God, Arun did something that he said something that we shouldn't be saying as a company to the client. So those things have greatly helped me develop more and more confidence. So having mini meetings, in short, ahead of time with the right audience definitely helps. Thank you.
True. That was very insightful.
Because I always used to feel, Sanjay, that hey, I'll do the best thing and they will all love me. I'll walk into the room and I'll own the room. I was very confident of myself. I was a good-looking man. I was the most confident person. I had decent enough English. I thought that I'm the best and I'm very competitive and I'm better than this other fellow who's my colleague. And so always trying to feel that I'm better than somebody else and I did a great job is like fooling yourself at the end of the day. And I have realized it over a period of time, and I spend a lot of time taking feedback ahead of time, set up mini meetings so that more and more people. So it's almost like how Nirmala said it. If she has a presentation to her, seniors particularly, she'd spend time uh, running a draft copy by them, and making sure that uh, uh, they have seen a copy of it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes during those mini sessions, or uh, they will give some feedback to correct my. They'll say, Arun, you have incorporated XYZ and you're doing a great job. However, there's a particular aspect that is missing. Can you also incorporate that so that we deliver even better presentation? So a lot of times that has happened to me, and I'm grateful for that. Nimra, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, a lot of times I think I cover all the topics, and then my manager always says, hey, but can you add this? Or can you take this out? I don't think we need to. And then it becomes a much better presentation. Yep.
I was so bad that I did not know if you have a sentence and you have to use the word And I always used to write a comma after the. I used to always give a space after the word and write a comma. My boss uh, was so particular about presentations to the client that he literally taught me how to write the comma in the right places. He said, Arun, all that you're doing a great job. You know, you have a great storytelling and great presentation skill, and you are the best we have. You're a role model. However, Arun, if only you learned how to place the comma in the right place, you'll do much better. And I learned a lot from him. By the way, he's currently the CEO of a company. There's also another fellow who's currently the CIO of Altrix. So those people, although they came from engineering background, they were not into communication by design, but I've learned a lot from them as well.
Yeah, great to hear, Arun.
Yeah. True.
Just as an comment, Arun. So literally, I was, the people's as ITV, driven by some people's in a company. So based upon their thoughts, so that is basically change our attitude and behavior. That so, uh, literally when I started my career in IT, so I used to write down all the like what I have to speak on a paper before going to the presentation. I used to read the entire presentation because of this, anxiety and fairness. But it's good that you people had a good instructors and feedback giving peoples, and also you well followed the feedbacks of those peoples and you respected those views and you followed it. But
See, all the
unfortunately,
fear goes away because if you, like I said about the mini meetings, if you are meeting your boss directly on that day, directly on the day of the presentation, you will have more fear because you have never met him in the last 1 month or 1 week or couple days. You have not met him and you're just presenting it directly. Instead of that, if I went to my boss a few times saying, "Hey, I think I've come with a good draft, but I want to take an early feedback from you," that will, if you have mini meetings, that will take your fear away.
okay, true, true. So the takeaway from this meeting, this session are many for me. So including the storytelling using the different visualizations. So thanks, Sanjay, on that. And also, you brought a good point at the last about the communication. So there are a lot to improve from my side. Thanks, Nirmala, because she has brought a right point. You have to understand the people whom you are speaking to. So yeah, there are a lot of things I have to take away from this meeting. Thanks.
You know, as once upon a time as an account manager, I was doing account management function for a very huge company, and I used to go to the client and we, you know, usually you have decks. Suppose I'm from Accenture or I'm from a great consulting company. I'd be decked. I'll be well dressed in a formal attire, blazer and all, blazer tie, all that, and I will be well groomed, and I'll have my best presentation. And I was giving a presentation to a bunch of finance guys, and the CEO and the CIO and stuff. They were all sitting in the board. And this is a big meeting with a big client for a multi-million dollar project. And they listened to my presentation. I did not see any sign of appreciation or any sign of happiness from them. After I had done my first 10 slides, so I did my first 10 slides. My first 10 slides talked about how great my company is, what are the services we are doing, how great we are, how have we helped 10 different clients in different industries and all that. By the time I was on my 10th slide, suddenly somebody's eye gleamed and they showed the first sign of happiness. And I was thinking, oh my God, Raman Hasa. I was thinking to myself, oh my God, Ramana laughed today. And I was very happy. You know what? Do you know what was the slide they laughed on? They were very happy about when it came to presenting the financials. Because I realized that out of the 10 people in the room, eight of them were finance people, and all that they want to hear is how much are my services going to cost them, and everything else was fluff. So sometimes you can run into these kind of situations as well.
Yes, and earlier also I was talking, right, return on investment. Whenever you talk to finance people, the first thing is cost and ROI.
Yeah, because they didn't care how smart I looked. They didn't care, how good English I spoke. They really wanted to know what was going to be the cost of my services, uh, what is going to be its impact over a period of time. How talk to me about the life cycle cost. And they said, and they took me out for lunch or dinner that night or that day, treated me very well, and said, "You own the room on the 10th slide." And I didn't know whether to take it as a compliment or whether to think that all the so one of
All
my
the
colleagues
remaining
was
nine
sitting.
slides. Yeah, yeah. Yes.
So basically, all the first 10 slides were useless to them, absolutely useless. I mean, there were a lot of fluff. They said, "You did a great job decorating all that, but we were only interested in the last two slides." And that was a lessons learned for me. So I always do what Nirmala just said some time back. I always look at my audience. What is the composition of my audience? It is very, very important to me now. So we'll take one more feedback from somebody, and then we'll try to wrap the session up. So does anybody else have any other feedback that they want to share with us?
Hi, Arun.
Hi.
Thanaselvi here.
Yes,
Able to
ma'am.
hear me?
Yes, Hannah.
Yeah, so I just want to thank here to everyone, to you, Arun, Lakshmi, Sanjay. So you are all motivators for me. With your motivations, I've upskilled myself, and now I got a new project in the same TCS, but I'm just trying to change company. But still, I got new project. They promoted me as a team lead for my new project. So this credits all goes to you people only. With your motivations, I motivated myself, and I learned myself. Even Arun, you know about me. I have two kids. Even though I've tried myself, so now I got new project. I'm trying to give my level best in the team. So every day, whenever I open my chats, I'll see Sanjay's messages, voice message everywhere. Everything I receive it in my uh, word bank. So I want to thank bunch to you people and all.
I was actually feverish, Hannah. I just joined the session towards the end because I realized that I'm trying to motivate Sanjay. One of my selfish reasons is I'm trying to persuade Sanjay to leave more voicemails, and also Nirmala to leave voicemails in a beautiful accent and grace. So I love when people leave messages like that, or they present some tips, because even I refresh myself even at the age of 51. This year I turned 51, and I always enjoy these messages from Sanjay, Nirmala, and others.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thana.
Yeah. Thanks, Sanjay. I want to thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually good to hear. Very nice.
And last
Yes.
but not the least, I do want to take the name of Prem Sai, who has been the topmost volunteer
Yeah,
of
definitely.
2023,
So
and he
I
has
want to thank
spent,
everyone in our group because
yeah,
everyone is contributing here. Not only to Arun, Sanjay, Lakshmi, or like that. I don't know the names, but everyone is contributing because everyone sharing messages, everything. So with that messages only I'm learning. Maybe I'm not able to respond, but I'm reading everything. That's the reason I'm in the position now. I'm so happy because of the 1 2 months I have joined December last to this group. Within the 1 month, I can able to see me. If I am a bachelor, definitely I'll become in a good position. But because with the two little kids, I've tried myself and given my best. So that when I got a good project and become a team lead, this is a very big thing. The credits all
excellent,
I have to give it to you people only. Really, Arun, Chandra, Lakshmi,
excellent.
Prem,
And
Joy, to
I
everyone.
Yeah, I was especially mentioning. Thank you for sharing that. I was mentioning about Prem Sai because I don't know whether it is good, whether he loves me a lot or it is his bad karma in the last previous incarnations that he has had. But he spent literally many months and every day many hours when he was on a break. He spent many hours with me reviewing. Like, we have reviewed more than like 1,500 plus resumes just in 3 months. So we sat down, we invested our evening, morning, night, whenever we get got time. We have done so many sessions in the past, and I know that a lot of new people have joined us who may not be well aware of what all things we have done. All that they have seen is only the high level orientation which we have in our Center of Excellence Gateway. But I would strongly urge everyone to start participating and contributing. Some people can do that by writing something. Some people do it by leaving voicemails. Some people do it by volunteering on one or the other aspect. Some people do it so we have people like Antish. Whenever he gets busy, he still will. He said, my way of volunteering will be, I'll figure out how to get the best deals for people for LinkedIn, for X, for sorry. You may have seen his group where he has all those deals on Coursera. So that is a way of contribution also. So regardless of who you are, what background you come from, whether you are married or unmarried, what sex you are from, what caste you are from, what creed you are from, everyone can contribute. And that is my key in the final message. I want to see people start contributing to the group. So you take as many resources from the group. You can look at the library, you can look at the data analytics, data science groups. We have data uh, ADE group which Ashok is leading. You can join anyone. Alteryx, which SK is leading. Muskan has been doing a lot of ML and multiple topics. Regardless of which group you join in, I want to see every one of you start contributing something, however small or however insignificant you feel it is, because to somebody else you can make their life. So every time I see Nirmala smile, every time I see Sanjay leaving a message, it I get up in the morning and it fills my heart with joy. So I want you guys to spread the same joy to your peers, to even to your mentors. You can spread a lot of joy by doing some level of volunteering, and that's the purpose of the COE. Sanjay, I am almost shivering here, so I'll let you do the little bit of talking to close
Yeah.
the session for today. But Sanjay, thank you a
Yes.
lot. I want everybody to join in to and show all your emojis, love signs, and so that you can join me in persuading Sanjay to leave, in persuading Sanjay and persuading people like Nirmala to keep engaged and keep leaving a lot of voice notes and messages and keep doing these mini workshops from time to time. Thanks.
Yeah, and now I want to speak three, maximum I'll take not more than 5 minutes about one topic. It's not related to storytelling, but definitely it's a topic which changed the trajectory of my career, I would say. Not exactly storytelling, but something which is related to marketing, I would say. So it's not something new or groundbreaking, but still for someone who didn't study MBA, I think it can be very insightful. With that, I want to close the session. Just 5 more minutes, not more than that. I'll just present my screen. Yeah. So can you see my screen?
No, not yet, Sanjay.
Okay. Let me know once you can see my screen.
Sure.
Or I'll reshare.
Now it's showing Kotler marketing
Yeah.
management.
Yes. So those who have studied MBA, I think you'll know this book. This is very, very famous book if you study marketing or sales. So this is one book where I was introduced to marketing, because until that point of time, I always thought marketing is only meant about promotion, but this book definitely changed my perspective on many things. Even though I never specialized in the area of sales and marketing, but definitely one topic from this book, which is like game changer, I would say. Now, this is a book which every MBA student goes through, at least in India. So I don't know about US and other countries. Now, there is one chapter in this book which talks about positioning. So if you just scroll down, so there are a lot of topics which they cover, but there is one topic which is 10th chapter. So it depends on the edition, because in different editions it will be in different chapters. So I think it is the 10th chapter, if I'm not wrong. Let me just, yeah, this one. So this chapter talks about a very, very important concept, which is positioning, and little bit of storytelling is also involved with respect to this. And a lot of, I would say this chapter is like a gold mine, I would say, in terms of learning. So what exactly is game changer? I'll tell you about this. See, whenever you are trying to convey, I mean, like this is more helpful for job hunting rather than any other thing. Whenever you present something or whenever you are trying to portray your profile, it should send one clear message. Like, for example, if someone looks at your resume, they should immediately feel that, okay, this guy is a data engineer, or maybe this guy is a data scientist, or maybe this guy is perfect fit for data analyst. So they should be able to correlate or map your profile to one particular thing. So I'll tell you how I used it in real life and how I have actually leveraged this one, which helped me with my LinkedIn. I would say 90% of my success in LinkedIn is because of this concept which is there. So positioning. So what does positioning mean? Now in marketing terms, there are three concepts: segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Now let's forget about the first two. Let's only talk about positioning. What does positioning means is, let's say if I talk about Toyota. So as soon as I say Toyota, the first thing which comes to your mind is cars. You will not think about a smartphone when I talk about Toyota. Similarly, if you talk about Apple, so if you go back 20 years, probably in the year 2004, if you say Apple, people will immediately recognize music. People will relate it to iPod, because iPod was very popular 20 years back. Today, when you talk about Apple, the first thing which comes to our mind is iPhone, not iPad, not any other thing. The first thing which comes is either iPhone or MacBook. So basically what it means is, as soon as you tell a particular name, what does it relate to? What is one word which comes to your mind immediately? So that's what positioning is all about. Now, if you look at companies, they spend so much of money talking about positioning. Like, for example, a very good example which I want to give about this is, which I already left in one of the voice notes. Now, Rajinikanth, he's very famous. Like, everyone in India knows who he is. But still, when he releases a new movie, why do companies spend crores of rupees doing a promotion? See, don't you think Rajinikanth is already famous? Everyone knows him. Then why companies spend so much of money again promoting it? Because when you talk about promotion, we all have short memory. Even if you are world famous and even if you have the highest number of followers on social media, you have to position yourself every single time properly. Then only your profile will be having high visibility. So I'll tell you how I have done it. If you look at my education, so I have done electronics in BTech, and then I have worked for 4 years in a non-IT role, and then I have done my MBA. So MBA in finance. Now the college where I studied, they haven't taught even a single tool. So, I mean, they haven't taught Power BI, they haven't taught R, Python, nothing. They only taught us Excel, that's it. But still, I learned something on Power BI, and then I started posting on LinkedIn. So the minute anybody says my name, the first thing people can relate to is not MBA, it's not related to electronics, nothing. People always relate my name to Power BI. Why? Because I always keep talking about Power BI. That's why, even though my qualification or my degree or my experience doesn't talk about Power BI at all, still people relate my name or associate my name with Power BI. So that is called positioning. So when I was studying MBA, one of the mistakes what many students used to do is, they would always include many things in their resume in order to impress someone, because they feel that the more things you put in your resume, the more impressive it is. I used to go with a very simple strategy. So for example, this is one of the PPTs which I made. This part of the PPT which I made for my MBA juniors. So I gave a talk for the MBA juniors of Manipal University. So one of the mistakes what people made when I was studying MBA was they used to highlight many things. They would talk about the school competition, course completion certificates. They used to have 3-pager resume. They used to have very fancy things. When you look at my profile, I would always highlight 4 things. Sorry, 3 things. My degree, Excel and Power BI, and my project portfolio. That's it, nothing else. For example, when you look at anybody's profile, it lacks clarity. Like, for example, when you look at their LinkedIn profile or when you look at their resume, okay, why should I hire this person? So this person talks about winning a school competition. This person talks about doing a marketing internship. Then he talks about learning Power BI. So it is very difficult for someone to associate you with a particular profile. So I always used to make my LinkedIn profile as well as my resume in such a way that I would keep it very simple. If you look at my product portfolio, you will not find SQL projects, not a single SQL project you will find. Most of my product portfolio is all about Excel and Power BI. In fact, if you look at my product portfolio, it has more Excel projects than Power BI projects. Even though my product portfolio has more Excel projects, still people relate me to Power BI. Why? Because I talk more about Power BI. So as soon as someone looks at my report, look at my product portfolio or my resume, immediately they can think that, okay, this guy can build reports for us. That is very, very clear. Within 10 seconds of looking at my profile, people can come to that conclusion. That is the clarity you have to give whenever you are trying to pitch for your profile in the job market. So as soon as someone looks at your profile, people should immediately feel that, okay, this guy fits for this role. So a lot of times what happens is you focus on noise, lot of noise. Like, for example, you talk about your gold medal, you talk about this, that, etc. But positioning your profile is very important. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is many people have this regret that they don't have an analytics degree or they don't have a BTech degree. Now, even I don't have an analytics degree for that matter. But the reason why my profile worked because I make sure that I only stick to 2 or 3 topics max. You look at all my LinkedIn posts. Either I talk about Excel or I talk about Power BI. Either I post something on Power BI or I used to post something on Excel. I mean, 3 years back, if you go back and see my old posts, everything is about only these 2 things. So that's why even though I don't have an analytics degree, still people give me opportunities. Why? Because I have positioned my profile like that. So that positioning is very important. So when you try to build your profile, you have to position your profile in such a way that people should immediately relate to what you are supposed to do or where they have to place you in their team. So let's say there is a hiring manager and let's say the person has like 10 members in his team. As soon as they see your profile, they should immediately feel, okay, I think this guy will fit as a Power BI developer, or okay, this guy will fit as a tech lead or a team lead. So that clarity should come as soon as they look at your profile. And I always made my profile more in technical terms. For example, anybody who studies MBA, who looks at my profile, says, okay, this is not how you build a profile. I know it because I was trying for technical roles. So that's the reason why my profile is more technical than management side. I was aware of it. So this is something which you have to keep in mind. And coming back to storytelling, how you will relate this to storytelling is whenever you have any brand, like for example, when you talk about Apple, when you talk about people associated with premium feel, status symbol and all these things. When you talk about something like Realme or Xiaomi, people will immediately think that, okay, it is very affordable with high specifications. So what is something which people use? I mean, what words people use to describe your profile? What is their first impression? That is something which is a very, very big topic of its own. That whatever I articulated just now is called positioning. So how are you positioning yourself in the market? So this is something which you have to think through very seriously, because the first impression is always the best impression. If you don't position yourself properly, then what will happen is your career will go zigzag. So if you don't want that to happen, if you want to get the role which you want to get, then you have to take this positioning concept very, very seriously. Now coming back to the storytelling. In the book itself, he talks about storytelling as well, but they have included only one part of it. Let me just show you that one. it's just, I think, here only. So there is one topic called brand mantras, and also there is one small topic which is related to storytelling. Just one moment, I'll show you. So here, if you see, every brand, they try to build a narrative. So they want to position themselves properly and they want to create a narrative. A very good example is Starbucks. Now, nobody goes to Starbucks just to have a coffee. Like, if you really want to have a coffee, you can make a very good coffee at home also. Why do people go for Starbucks? For good ambience. So in a very similar way, every brand will have its own narrative and storytelling. And that relates to positioning as a concept. So how do you want to position your profile and how do you want people to approach your profile is matters a lot. So it doesn't matter which degree you have. I know people who have studied MA English or MA Literature and now they're working in tech roles. It's all about how you position your profile and what kind of things you post on LinkedIn. So nobody cares about your education and other things as long as people know that you know the subject very well. So this is about this topic. I'll close it here.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, for being here with us, spending your time. And I know every session with you, uh, even though we plan it for an hour or so, we love you so much that the session always extends into a little bit of
Yes.
more conversation. But I'm very happy about the engagement that people have shown us, Ranjit, Mohit, and many others. And I'm so thankful to the people who joined us today, and I would like to see more of that in the future. Whenever we have seminars, I would like people to join live. Don't rely on recordings because what you get live is the best thing. For example, you can listen to Jagjit Singh or any of the great singers all you want on recording, but when you watch the session live, that brings out the best in you, and that event becomes a really memorable one. So guys, please start doing that. I request you, I beg of you, I persuade you, I will provoke you. I'll sometimes speak to you in nice words, sometimes I'll speak to you in harsher words. But the key thing here is to start participating, whatever role, whatever caste, creed, sex you're from, please start doing that. And we will all get better together. Together we can, together we will. Having said that, let's close the session. I don't know if Premsai is there. Premsai, are you there? If not, I'll request Lakshmi or somebody to close down the session because I'm actually outside and I cannot press the end button. But let's show Sanjay some more emoji, some more love, because unless I'm doing that because I'm taking a commitment from Sanjay in front of all of you that he will deliver at least one session every month, one or two.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Every time Premsai reaches out to Sanjay or I reach out to Sanjay, I will play this recording to show that he has committed in front of us. Thank you, Sanjay. Same goes for Nimla. Nimla, you are on record.
Thank you, everyone.
Premsai or Nimla, please help us close the session in the meeting or recording.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Arun.
Thanks, Arun. Thank you, Sanjay.